Welcome to Beekeeping Today Podcast Shorts, your quick dive into the latest buzz in beekeeping.
In 20 minutes or less, we'll bring you one important story, keeping you informed and up to date.
No fluff, no fillers, just the news you need.
Brought to you by Better Bee, your partners in better beekeeping.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's Beekeeping Today Podcast Short. We're excited to have Simon Mildren, founder and CEO of HiveKeepers, an Australian agtech company revolutionizing the beekeeping industry. Simon is a firefighter turned beekeeper and has been instrumental in developing innovative solutions for both hobbyists and small commercial beekeepers. In this bonus episode, we'll be discussing HiveKeepers' latest innovation, the micro honey harvester. Simon, welcome to the Beekeeping Today Podcast Short.
So great to be here. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Becky. It's a pleasure to have this opportunity with you and your listeners. Thanks.
We're so excited to hear what you have to say here, Simon. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, Simon, this is a really interesting product that caught Becky and I. It sounds very exciting. So why don't you describe to us what the micro harvester is?
Yeah, sure thing. So it started a few years ago with some of the concerns and issues around traditional harvesting methods for the small-scale hobby beekeeper, of which I have been one now for 15 years or more perhaps. And we were looking to overcome some of the really simple problems that come with honey harvesting for those people, for that group of people. And the honey harvester came from that. And we now have what is a small benchtop device, which is just like a normal extractor in that it rotates and spins out honey, but it's nice, small, compact and easy. And when you match that up, Jeff, with our frames, our honey harvesting frame, there's small cassettes there. Those small cassettes can be quickly and easily removed. And when we do that, they come apart and are quickly and easily harvested. And we're talking within 20 seconds as opposed to a long, drawn-out setup that would otherwise normally take place for traditional honey harvesting.
So for beekeepers who might have this reference, but the cassettes actually look like a genter box. They look like the boxes where you'd have a queen lay eggs into with the cells set up in the nice square cassettes. Very cool.
And those cells, those squares, there's a line of how many across the top and across the bottom? There's 5 and 5?
Yeah.
4 and 4?
Cells. Oh, you're talking about on the actual frame. In the frame,
there's
we've got a Langstroth deep here. There's 4 across and 2 down. Each pair of cassettes, I guess, means there's 16 halves on there. Okay. But I just consider one cassette being one pair, like I'm holding up to you here, which is just 2 parts.
Okay. So nice. So those all fit into a standard Langstroth deep frame. You have 8 cassettes. They split in half, and you have essentially 16. I can do math quickly. As you said, 16 portions and you put 2 halves into the micro harvester.
That's right. So all we will do, and I'll show you. I know the listeners don't see this, but you can speak for them as well. But we pull apart, we separate the cassette when we've got honey that's capped, and as we pull that apart, and I hold up to you, you can see that the actual bottom of the cells, when you look at this cassette, become open. And that removes the need, Jeff, for us to uncap. The cappings remain because we're actually going to remove the honey from the inside of the cassette rather than the outside of the cassette. And when these 2 faces come back together, I'll show you that there so you can sort of see. I know others can't, but you can sort of see how those 2 faces come back together.
They snap together.
And then you can't actually see through. Wow. And that means that the bees have a really good quality honeycomb structure to work with, but we still have access to that honey, but from the back of the cells when we put them in our harvester.
Easiest uncapping ever. That's just brilliant.
So, Becky, that comes from the fact that I must be hopeless at that. I don't know what's wrong. I've tried all the tools, I've tried all the methods, and I just found uncapping just an utter mess and completely hopeless and time-consuming. And that was one of my criteria. I've got to find a way to make uncapping easier. And here we are. We removed it all together, the issue.
So you have cool. Each frame has the cassettes in it, and you could put the frames in just like a standard frame, deep frame. So you could have 8, 16, whatever. If you had a long lang, you could have 28 32.
Yeah, you just keep going. So it's just lift out one normal frame and put one of our frames in. That's all it's meant to be. That was one of the other criteria. I want it to be really simple. Now, whilst we only have deep frames at this point in time, we have to start somewhere with our product. As soon as we get that momentum and movement forward, we will offer additional size frames, which will mean there's different quantities of cassettes there.
Sure.
But we obviously need to start at one point, so we just chose the Langstroth full depth frame to begin with.
And then you expect to put these in deep boxes above the queen excluder?
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? And I guess I've certainly put them in below and just kept them off to the side away from the brood area, so that can work.
Okay.
I've also used one of the queen cages that can sit inside the box, which is normally to hold the queen, keep the queen constrained. Instead, I'm putting these frames in there to keep the queen separated from them, and that's actually working quite well.
A couple of ways to do this.
There is. Yeah, it's quite diverse, really.
I hadn't thought about using one of those queen frame cages that way.
The other way around.
Yeah.
It was actually one of the beekeepers over here that I've been doing testing with said, Simon, I'm going to do that. And I just went, how come I never thought of that? And that's the thing. It's good to have a really great testing group that come up with lots of good ideas like that.
Well, that's okay. So you slow down, Jeff. So
Jeff's excited. So this is a good thing.
This is really kind of cool.
That's great. I love it.
Well, so the whole, I'm just so many thoughts going through because this unit looks like a food processor, for lack of a better term, a round container that kind of sits on top of a table or a workbench or, like you said, or a countertop. You put the cassette, both halves of the cassette in that, and it spins it, basically, like a regular extractor, a radial extractor.
That's right.
I'm thinking right away is if you were a chef or if you worked in a restaurant and you really wanted to wow your customers and say, hey, I've got the freshest product here. You could extract that tableside or in a place that people could watch it at least and understand what's happening.
We've had a lot of people ask us about that. We've had a lot of people ask us about how it would go if they were to take their honey to their normal markets and they could extract honey with our harvester in front of their customer. But do you know what's just simply amazing, Jeff, is at home, you bring a cassette inside on a Saturday night, you have a nice cheese platter and your guests are there with you and you can simply harvest honey in front of your guests, something that is, we know that that's not practical normally. Well, they show interest in your garage the way that you've got an extraction set up for about 3 minutes and then they leave it to you. But this way people see it. Now, I'd love to show you a harvest if you've got a few minutes. It will only take a few minutes.
Yeah, please do.
Do you want me to tell you about the harvester? So for those that can't see it, it's basically the size of a bucket. And we designed it to be beekeeper proof, well, as best as you can. We know there's nothing truly beekeeper proof out there. But we wanted an easy carry bucket. It needed to be portable. Yes, there's a small motor in there, but it needs batteries. We didn't want to have to rely on being plugged in, so that you could actually take this to your bee yard and harvest while you're out there with your bees. And the reason for that is to make it part of your normal inspection practice, that you could actually be checking on your bees, but also harvesting a small amount of honey as you go. Now, enough about that. I just love to show you. So I'm going to pull the handle down. The handle out of the way lets us lift the lid off, that to the side. And actually, I'll show you one other part here. The base comes off as well. A bit hard to do it in the middle of the air here, but I'll try my best. You've just seen how the base comes off, and there's a central spindle section, which is where the cassettes are going to go. I'm going to put it back together quickly, and I'm going to then show you one of these beautiful, maybe you can describe to your listeners what I'm holding up.
So you're holding an individual frame with the 8 cassettes in it, and
beautifully capped honey.
Yeah.
It's stunning, isn't it? Now, it's from one of my test beekeepers. I'm going to go for this one here because I already just loosened it ever so slightly. So I'm going to lift that one out.
And it doesn't seem to be all propolized and sticking together. I mean, that popped out of that frame.
Yeah,
clean.
It does. See that little, I'm holding the tiniest little bit of propolis that sits around the side of the actual cassette between the cassette and the frame. It's very fine. And people say to me, Simon, is there spots there for hive beetle and other things to get in the way on the frame? No, we've engineered it so well that it fits together really tight. Now, this is the bit where I get to sort of pop it apart. So the new version of these cassettes, which is not what I'm showing you here, because I haven't even got them yet. I've been waiting for them to come from the manufacturer, have a nice little key that just pops them open and that overcomes any beeswax that's there. But otherwise, I've just popped that apart with 2 thumbs. You probably see a little bit of honey just was there.
Very little bit of honey. The honey's it's still in the cells. Yes, it looks pretty thick.
It's not coming out. It's not coming out with some force. Now, I'll hold it up to you in a minute, but I'll just get this in here.
So
I'm just sliding these in.
Sliding them in with the open side to the outside of the extractor.
So the actual cappings are facing inwards. And then, I know it's slightly out of view, but I'm just going to put the lid back on. And so what I've got here is you can see that the cassette is sitting in there inside, ready to go.
Right.
We've just slid that in. And I'm going to push this button here, and it's going to spin for about 20 seconds. And you can tell your audience what it looks like.
Spinning away.
Oh, this is fun. Oh, and there you go. The honey is starting to spin to the sides of the bucket. It's quiet.
Yeah, it's really quiet.
Very quiet, isn't it?
Simon doesn't have any honey all over his hands. It's very neat.
It's not walking across the floor.
What's up with that?
And it's not occupying my garage for 3 days in a row as I get frustrated uncapping and filtering and cleaning. So it's just slowing down now. And you can sort of see how it's accumulated around the walls.
Yeah.
And classic honey harvesting, it doesn't look like a lot, but one of the volume of each of those cassettes is 250 mil, which is about 170 grams. I can't help you with any other unit of measure that might be relevant for you guys, but 250 mil is a cup, isn't it? So I've just lifted the lid off, and what I really want to show you is I take out that center spindle, so they'll put that out of the way. And that's pretty dry, by the way.
Right.
I could spin it one more time. It doesn't look like, when I hold this up to you, that there's much honey in there. But as you start scraping, it quickly comes together. I'm sure you're looking at that going, where's the honey?
No, I can see that honey. I know it's there. Well, and if you've ever, extracted in a regular extractor, you know that what's on the side of the walls, you let it
really
sit overnight
up,
and it totally adds up. Yeah, yeah.
The thing I wanted to point out to you, though, was what bits there are in there, like as in what bits of beeswax. Now, I can look in there and see maybe 6 or 7 micro little bits of beeswax. I don't know how easy it is for you to see, but that's going on my toast. I don't, like you, any of us here wouldn't care. It's such a small amount of beeswax. It's ridiculous. It's just not worth worrying about.
Right.
But if you wanted to, you could just pick it out with a teaspoon, no problem. Right. So that's how it works.
Right. That's amazing. So, and to reuse that cassette, what do you do with the actual cappings that are there?
So when you put that cassette back into the frame, back in the hive, the bees will manage that within the first day. They'll remove those cappings. Oh, it's very quick.
Okay.
They're straight onto it. They'll repurpose it. Sometimes I've seen the beeswax out the front or underneath a vented base, but generally speaking, it's quite quick repurposed inside the hive.
So there's no scraping, no digging, no fuss, no muss.
It's just all the problems that I've had over the years, and I've just tried again and again to find the right way to do it. It's sort of coming true here. Like I'm sure I've still got some improvements to make. We've been through many different iterations. We've tested a lot of different ways to do it, but we're really getting to the point now where we've taken a lot of those pain points out, and it's a good feeling, I've got to be honest.
I'm impressed. I think that this is such a great tool, because if anybody's ever loaded up an extractor to bring it to a school to demonstrate, or any kind of reason to share actual honey extraction, this is so neat, so clean, and so accessible. At the state fairs, I mean, you can literally have people right there and take a look at an actual extraction right in front of them. I have to ask, this is a Kickstarter event, so I think we need to get those details out, because this is just happening now.
So tell us about that.
It really is. Yeah, so it is on Kickstarter, and people can search on Kickstarter.com for micro honey harvester. We can also share a link with them, I guess, on your podcast afterwards.
Sure can.
We'll put it in the show notes.
And
I'll give you one time reference. So it is going live maybe before this goes out live, I don't know, but Tuesday, the 25th of March, 4 p.m. in your time where you are, 5 p.m. New York, San Francisco, 2 p.m. I've got my list up on the wall. We'll be going live then. And if people are interested, please go across and look for this now, or look for this as soon as possible, because people usually go to Kickstarter because they're looking for a special price or a good deal or something. So we reward those that go there first and put their trust in us first. So please go there.
We'll definitely get the word out. And that's one of the benefits. That's why we created Beekeeping Today Podcast Shorts, was to provide this quick, timely information for our listeners. And so we'll turn this around. This is Monday, and we'll get this out either later today or first thing in the morning, so that they can be on the Kickstarter right away.
In fact, a suggestion would be hivekeepers.com. If they go there, there's a direct link to the campaign page, so that they don't have to do the searching. It might just be quicker to do it that way.
Let's do that. We'll send them directly to your website, and then they can follow the links. They're easy to see.
That sounds perfect.
Simon, this is great. Actually, what we'll do is we'll have you back on the show later this year and give us an update on the Kickstarter and on the product release. I can see it on my at a restaurant. I know I've said that before, but I can see it at a restaurant with the chef sitting there saying,
I can too, Jeff. Yes. And if I'm honest, I see a slightly different version. I'd love to bring one that looks a little bit more fitting to their environment inside it. But what a great start we've got here with what it is. Can I plant one more little idea in the back of your mind? It's a future Simon sort of dream of where he sees this going. I like the idea of someone who doesn't even have a beehive to harvest fresh honey in their own home. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that
I love that.
Is, it really resonates well, doesn't it? Is someone who just loves honey and loves fresh, good quality food, can get a honey cassette from their local honey supplier, take it home, harvest that right there with their family. They don't even need to have the bees. And we all love bees here. We all love spending time with them. But guess what? Not everyone does. And some people love the honey and love the produce, but they don't want to have to go through that work. So can we make this the Nespresso machine for honey? That's the vision that I have for this.
One in every kitchen.
Espresso or whatever they call it, little cups of coffee, and you just buy your frames of honey. I love it. It's a great idea, Simon.
Excellent.
Let's see. But we'll do one thing at a time. We've got a Kickstarter, as you've heard. We've got to bring this product to the recreational market. We'll deal with the bigger problems, the bigger opportunities later.
There you go. Well, thanks a lot for joining us this afternoon. And we look forward to hearing from you, Simon.
Thanks very much, Becky. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Simon.